Welcome to another Housing Experts podcast. My name's Tom McGivern, licensed broker associate, and your host here. Today I wanted to go over mortgage numbers, and I think there's a lot of talk out there. If you're paying attention to, real estate stuff, there's a lot going on, and I'm going to get to a lot of it. So this is a very important podcast. Not only I'm going to talk about the mortgage numbers, I'm going to talk about what else is going on in the industry, and so stay tuned. It's going to be good. Let's do this. I want to reiterate, I'm a licensed broker associate in New York. I'm not a mortgage broker. So if you have specific questions about how mortgage things and mortgages work and all these other, or you have other questions like how do I pay down my mortgage quicker? Is it good to do that? Is it bad? I'm not going to really get into what you should do. I'm going over the numbers. This is a basic introduction and really review for anybody. Hey, how much does it cost to get a mortgage, and what is it going to be like every month when I get that monthly payment? The best way to reach me, again, if you're listening, this is visual, okay? So for the YouTube people, if you're on PC, you're going to see a QR code on your screen. So if you're watching on a computer, you can grab your cell phone and you can simply scan that QR code, and then it'll go right into your phone, and you can grab my digital business card, which includes where my podcast is, other content that I have on my website, and I'm going to talk more about longislandtom.com, but let's keep going here. I'm going to start with a purchase price, all right? A purchase price of $500,000. And I'm going to go over some other numbers too, and they're going to be, some people may or may not, appreciate what's going on with housing prices. Again, I can't get into that. If you want to know what's going on with housing prices, go to the last episode and check out anything that says Long Island home prices for a local look at, hey, what's happening on our island with price trends and things like that. This is about, hey, what are the numbers for a mortgage? So at a purchase price of $500,000 and a down payment of 3%, that's $15,000. That means you're going to put down $15,000 and you're going to borrow $485,000. I'm estimating closing costs, which are, I'm going to say two words: your tax escrow, your escrow for taxes, which is what the bank holds, and your title. Those are two main costs at your closing costs associated along with other fees. So that's $25,000. Again, I'm estimating that's a total cost that you'll need. You'll need $40,000 to buy this $500,000 home. Now, there's an asterisk on the screen here right next to total closing costs, and it says may not include buyer broker fee. I want you to stay tuned because I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So, at 5%, the mortgage payment for principal and interest only, this doesn't include taxes and insurance, is $2,603. A 6% mortgage is $2,900. 7% is $3,226, and 8.5% is $3,729. This is being recorded in early December 2023. We just really came off of 8.5%, and if you've, like in the summer, it was like 8.5%. If you've been paying attention to the mortgage rate, it has come down, and I'm going to get a little bit into, hey, what's in store for the future, like people know, right? A lot of people don't know. They just make guesses, but I'm going to kind of give you an insight into what's going on. Now, I wanted to go from $500,000 to $750,000 because that's the average asking price, the average selling price, roughly, in Suffolk County. $750,000. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, I can't afford a $500,000 house, this is a waste of time. It's not. I want you to listen to it all because the numbers are going to start to make sense. And these are the things that you need to pay attention to as a buyer if you want to really get serious about purchasing a house. So at $750,000, again, I'm going to use a low down payment, 3%. Why am I doing that? Because I want to show how little you can have in order to buy a house. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about, other down payments. But at 3% down is $22,500 at $750,000. Now, closing cost estimates, again, I'm going to use 5%. That's $37,500. So a total closing costs of $60,000 with the little asterisks, may not include buyer broker fee. Let's keep going. 5% mortgage is $3,905. And why am I using 5%? Because I can't go back to 3, right? 3%, it seems like it was 10 years ago. Meanwhile, it was only last year, last March, just before March, it was 3%. So the mortgage rate has shot up tremendously. In the last podcast, I talked about how the market's changing and shifting, and buyers are beginning to They're beginning to become more used to these mortgage numbers. Having said that, I wanted to use 5 as a benchmark because some people have said that mortgage rates could go into the 5s in 2024, but stay tuned. So at these numbers, at $750,000 purchase, $22,500 down, your mortgage payment, principal interest, would be $3,905. 6%, you see, we're at $4,300, almost $4,400. 7%, $4,800, and 8.5, $5,500, just shy of $5,600. Let's look at the differences. At $500,000 purchase price, between 5% or 7% with 3% down, same numbers. You can see it on the screen here. That's $623 difference. So because the mortgage rate has gone up so much, that's how much more you're paying with a full 2 percentage points higher in the mortgage interest rate. When we look at 8.5%, which is, we're kind of coming off of those numbers. I don't know if they're going to go back up to that. Neither does anybody else out there. You go on any website, if they say they think they know, they don't know. But having said that, the difference between those two right there is $1,126. So you're paying, $1,100 more for the same amount of money. That's $485,000, right? Because you put 3% down. Don't snooze on me here, because these are mortgage numbers. I know people can be like, oh man, I don't want to listen to this anymore. Keep listening. Trust me, it's in your interests, because this is what you have to go through. You have to figure it out. And the more knowledge you have, the better off you can make better decisions. Because whether you're paying a bank, right, and you're getting the equity swing on the purchase versus renting, as a realtor, it's easy for me to say to people, oh, buying a house, great investment, all that other stuff. I try not to do that as a real estate agent. I just try and say, hey, this is the information. You make the decisions for yourself and for your family. How do you want to live your life, your lifestyle? So at $750,000, the difference between 5% and 7% is almost $1,000. It's $935. So why am I giving you these kind of numbers? I'm going to keep going here, but I just want to throw this in here. Because if interest rates are going down and you want to make a move, this may be a very good time, right, to kind of say, hey, if rates get into the 6s, what are things looking like? And I just use the mortgage calculator. And again, I'm not a mortgage broker or banker. These are basic numbers right from a mortgage calculator. Let's look at, I also did 5% versus 8.5%, right? At $750,000 purchase, that's $1,231. So that's $1,200 more. And if the rates come down, it's come down. It's around 7.11% today as of early December. So you're saving a lot of money right now. So if you're a buyer or a seller who's looking to buy, things are looking better. So what's the mortgage rate going to be like in 2024? Well, nobody knows, right? And I don't care what anybody says. I have looked it up. I've looked at several different websites, including the National Association of Realtors. Lawrence Yun, who's the chief economist there, he's a very smart man, was recently talking to, recently in the news, talking about how he believes, because he's listening and seeing the same data, that rates may get into the 6s. I'm not going to say that. What I'm going to say is, hey, let's assume 7%. Let's just say that's the number. And now I want to give you some different, and this is why I wanted you to stay tuned as a prospective buyer, because let's say, hey, Tom, I can't afford $500,000. What about $300,000? 3% down is $9,000. Your estimated closing costs, I'm assuming 5%, right, of the purchase price. So that's $15,000. That's going to, again, include your escrows, your title, and other associated fees, your attorney fee in New York State, etc. That's a total closing cost of $24,000. Your principal and interest payment there is $1,936. Now, if you're renting a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, you're probably paying somewhere around $3,000 to $3,400 if you're lucky. I just told you that the interest, principal and interest, is $1,936. That is really good. Okay, and that's at 7%. Again, I'm assuming 7%. So right now the rate is 7.11%. 631-831-9048. That's my cell phone. That's a good number. If the light bulb just went on just now and you're like, hey, wait a minute, that's principal and interest. If I paid $500 in taxes, I'm paying $2,400 a month for a house. Maybe throw in my insurance, $2,600. Wow, I could save $1,000 a month right now and own my own home. Now that's at $300,000. So if you're not living here on Long Island, if you listen to the podcasts every single month, I go over the numbers. There's less than 80 homes for sale in Suffolk County with a price tag of $300,000 or less. So I just wanted to make that clear. Let's talk about $450,000. That's that's a better number to kind of focus on when you're thinking about buying a house here or a condo here on Long Island. 7% interest, 3% down, that's $13,500. Again, that 3% down is kind of like that first-time home buyer, whether you're using FHA or you're doing a conventional loan at 3% down, it's $13,000, $13,500. Closing costs, again, I'm estimating 5%. That's $22,500. Total closing costs, $36,000. Again, if you're looking on the video on YouTube, you'll see the asterisks. May not include buyer broker fee. I'm going to get to that. Don't worry. Mortgage payment, $2,904. Right? So we went up, okay? But if you're paying $4,000 in rent, things might start to look a little different. The difference between $450 and $750. Now, if I'm a buyer and I'm looking, hey, Tommy, I can afford $800, $750, $700,000. Where are we at $750? 7% mortgage, just 3% down. Again, that's at $22,500. Closing costs $37,500. You have to have $60,000 in closing costs. And when I say that, there are ways to do things differently when it comes to down payment assistance and borrowing money from or getting a gift from people for your mortgage down payment, things like that. I'm not getting into that. If you have questions about, hey, what grants can I get or other things, this podcast, I'm not doing that, but you can, and I have those answers for you. So the difference there is, $1,936 between $450 and $750. But that's a doable, at $4,800. I mean, if you can afford an $800,000 house, you're probably already paying $5,000 in rent somewhere. So maybe it's time to, and that's only 3% down. Maybe it's time to start considering your options. Let's put down 20% at 7%. Okay, now I want to just say, hey, who's got 20% down? The down payment on a $500,000 house, that's $100,000. Your closing costs are, again, I'm estimating 5%. Your total closing costs now are $125,000. So the monthly payment there on a $500,000 house is $2,661, principal and interest. That's $565 less per month with 3% down, but $85,000 more in upfront costs. And I wanted to look at what is the difference over 30 years, because you can be paying, let's say you own a home for 30 years, and I have some information about this as well. You have a $485,000 loan. Okay, again, this is that $500,000 purchase. Back to that. $485,000 loan versus $400,000 loan. That's $1 $1,161,618 in interest payments. Yeah, that's 3% down on the $500,000. And again, if you're listening to this, you're like, what is he talking about? Go to the YouTube link, watch the video. It makes more sense, I hope. As opposed to $958,000, which is a lot. Listen, it's a lot of money, but you're talking about a 30-year mortgage. The difference there is $203,000 over 30 years to own a home and pay for it for 30 years. The median duration of a homeowner, right? And this is, you can Google this. So I didn't cite anything, but it's on many, many different websites. The median duration, that means how long do people own their home? 13 years. So you pay a majority of the interest in your first, 20 years of the loan. I get that. But you also have mortgage payoff acceleration strategies. What are those? That means things like split your payment into 2 per month. Over the course of the year, you make one extra payment that does reduce your time to pay off your mortgage, and it can save you a lot of money. I'm not going to get into it. There are other strategies like that. And again, I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, because everyone has a different opinion about how you should pay your mortgage and handle your finances. So where are you right now? I want to ask that question. Have you gone over your numbers? How can you make this whole situation work for you? And my suggestion always is get information. You have to have the information in order to be able to take the next step in your financial life or in your home life. So what is your next move? Now, I know I mentioned the may not include buyer broker fee. There are some changes to our industry that are happening as the real estate, the National Association of Realtors was recently in a lawsuit. They are appealing that, but the bottom line is there is a change coming to the real estate industry where your agent, you may know somebody who wants to help you buy a house and you want that help, but you may be in a position where you are now paying their fee. And on a $500,000 house, if 2% of that is going to go to the broker, that's $10,000. Normally, listen, as a real estate agent, we don't get paid, right? We don't get paid a salary. We get paid at the closing. So I want to make it very clear that this could be, in certain circumstances, if you're working with the wrong agent, where you have to write them a check for their commission. Right? I'm not saying that's a definite. I'm saying that is a possibility. If you want to buy a home with an experienced real estate agent, LongIslandTom.com is the resource. I want you to go there. It's not your typical realtor website where I'm wasting your time trying to help you, use a search bar to find out, some homes for sale. I know you're going to go online. I know you're going to use Zillow, and I know you're going to go to Realtor.com, and I know you're doing your own thing. What I do is a specialty. And at LongIslandTom.com, you're going to be able to see what I do as your buyer agent and what the services I provide. And again, how I'm going to navigate the waters so that you're not paying me via your checkbook to help you buy a house. Because again, I work independently with a broker, but I get paid if the sale happens. Okay, so there's a ton of services there, so I want you to look at it. And let me show you everything that you get when you hire me. And again, you don't pay me up front. I do get paid at closing, all right? And I want to make that clear. I talk about this and will talk to you about this, both as a home buyer and a home seller, because I also have there my seller agent services, there's a lot there. LongIslandTom.com. So if you have questions, you're like, hey, what's going on here with this? How do I buy this house? What are the numbers? How does this all work? It's a good resource. You can also find out a little bit more about me, my resume. There's a ton of quotes there from past clients. And again, if you're looking at the screen, you can, if you want to work with an experienced agent, grab your phone right now, scan that QR code that you're looking at on your PC, and contact me. Thanks for watching this video on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and comment. Ask me any questions. I would love to hear from you. I'll see you on the next video. Right now.